Hello, everyone. This is Kim Lay with A2Q2, and today I'm going to answer one of the top 5 questions that have been asked over the last 4 weeks. That is, what are the activities that are needed when you're doing a public company readiness initiative if you plan on going public at the end of 2021, so say Q4 of 2021 or Q1 of 2022. So what I've actually done is give you an overview here of the 3 scenarios and the SOX readiness, what I call pre-IPO or public company readiness scenario. I've also compared it to the SOX 404A, which is the first year that you're public and you are an emerging growth company, an EGC company. And then as a SOX 404B is if you were an accelerated filer. So this just helps you quickly see, but from do a comparison. But my answer today is really going to focus on public company readiness. So this is a quick overview of all of the activities that you'll need to do. And I'll also then do separate videos to dive into each of these items and into more granular detail. Wanted this to be really quick and short for you. So here you can see highly recommended is project management, a strong project manager or project management function that can drive this process. Someone who's gone through this process before so that they can be your expert Sherpas. Imagine you are scaling Mount Everest. Your goal is to climb Mount Everest, the highest of all peaks. You want to make sure you have people who've done this before and who can guide you through it. Next is going to be the planning. And planning then includes putting together a timeline. These are the activities that will happen in each of the phases and letting everyone know how that's going to work. And then there is the risk assessment. So SOX is a top-down, so the regulators, PCAOB and SEC, have talked about a top-down approach. It's recommended that you do a risk assessment, not required when you're going through a readiness initiative, but it will help you focus on what the activities are. The next one is an IT risk assessment. And the IT risk assessment is really an offshoot of the risk assessment, but here it looks at your specific systems that might be in scope that you'll want to look into so that you can beef up the controls. We typically find that the IT portion is one of the hairier sections because you're impacting a larger group. It's typically making sure it's change management, making sure everyone agrees this is how we're going to do things, not just when it's within the SOX scope, but maybe outside of SOX scope and getting everyone agreement on that. The COSO mapping is another activity that you'll need to do. COSO is the 99.9% of companies use COSO 2013 as their internal controls framework, and the regulators do make sure that you're using a framework. While it doesn't specifically say COSO, it's the default that everyone's used. Segregation of duties is another activity that's highly recommended when you're doing a readiness, a public company readiness initiative. And here I've broken the segregation of duties into 3 areas so that it's a bit easier to chunk it down. Segregation of duties around your manual controls, the activities that you're doing, not system related itself, just on who can open mail and receive cash, potentially customer receipts, who is making the deposit, who's doing the bank deposit, who's reconciling it, whether you use a system or not. That's what we refer to as manual controls or manual activities. The other key one that's really important to do is your segregation of duties around your ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning System, whether it's a NetSuite, SAP, Oracle Cloud. You actually want to do the analysis of user access and their permissions. And the reason is that takes longer to do, and the remediation, the fixing of it is what takes a long time. Sometimes doing it is fairly easy. You know what you need to fix, but getting everyone else to agree on what the fix is the challenge. And then next is going to be the segregation of duties for systems that are not your accounting system, your core systems. That's your HR information system, HRIS, your equity management system, whether that's Equity Edge, ShareWorks, Carta. Who has access to that, who can input, who can review, who can approve. Those are the types of systems. And then, so besides segregation duties, then the next one is going to be SOC 1 report reviews. This one I put as optional because in a public company readiness initiative, many of our clients are technology companies who rely heavily on SaaS solutions, hosting partners, looking at those SOC 1s. But that's something, if I were to prioritize, would be a little lower on the list. Training for your process owners, highly, highly recommended. Not only training on internal controls, but it's that whole mindset. It's the change management. This is the journey we're going to be on. And for many of your teams, it's going to be extra work. So making sure that they know what's the road ahead, what resources are available, and it's the mindset change that's going to be the hardest to do. Audit committee presentations and so forth, optional when you're doing a public company readiness initiative, highly recommended when you're doing the EGC or 404A, and then required when you are a fully accelerated filer. The next one are key reports. Key reports testing, that's something optional when you are doing a readiness, although depending on the type of key reports, I would recommend doing it if there's a really customized, hairy report. You want to make sure it has the right, accurate, and complete information. And external auditor management, when you are going through a readiness initiative, there's very light touch from your external auditors. We highly recommend looping them in to know you're doing this, but they don't need to be close to you step by step along the way until a certain point, which is when you've identified, you've remediated, and we can go into that some more. Certainly include them when you're doing the 404A from making sure that it's here's what we're doing to make sure management has done its thing. And then when it's a 404B, they're definitely heavily involved. And so a tight partnership is important. And then finally, evaluating your deficiencies at the end of the year, not applicable when you are doing a public company readiness initiative, you're still private. It's not as applicable when should say it's optional when you are a 404, I'll write this down, 404A, because if you have a material weakness, of course you want to flag that, but it's not something that you're reporting on to the external auditors at all. So this is part one. I'll go through more now, the next one on processes, specific processes and activities related to those processes. Have a great day.